The Plotcast podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Hello and welcome to the Potty Plotters Plotcast podcast. This is episode 39. I'm not Elaine, I'm producer Gareth. Where is she, Julia?
Oh, she's on a sick bed. She is on a sick bed. She's very, very poorly. I did offer to do this from her sick bed, but she was having none of it. So carry on, Gareth. It's you today.
It's me today. So, how do people get in touch with us? Well, we have Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Potty Plotters. We sometimes update TikTok at The Potty Plotters.
You can email us. You can. That's naughtycorner at pottyplotters.uk, or you can check out the website pottyplotters.uk.
The Plotcast podcast with the Potty Plotters.
So she's not here. As we all know, I know very little about gardening, although yesterday I did, in effect, empty the greenhouse and put all the dead stuff in the garden recycling bin, which was good because I had to fight past the cat to do it because she was chasing the plants. So what are we going to be doing this week?
Well, this week we were planning on catching up with Derby County Community Trust. We were going to go over there and have an interview with them. Unfortunately, Elaine seems to have infected the whole of the area. And so, we'll just blame her while she's not here anyway.
Super spreader.
Super spreader, that's what she is. And so we've had to postpone that because Luke, who we were going to speak to, is also poorly. Don't like to spread any rumours, but it's a bit suspicious. So what's happened is, well, I've been going over there and doing a little bit on their community plot anyway, and I've had to take... Oh, God. Oh, no, what's...
Does that mean I'm not sacked?
What are you doing in my chair anyway?
Am I sacked now?
Well, I can't be a producer. I've only been out the blooming place 10 minutes. Go on, shift it. Get out.
Hello, Elaine.
Hello.
How are you?
Sorry I'm late.
Yeah, he thought he was going to take over your bit. I don't know what he was going to do, Elaine.
Well, he'd have probably done a really good job, actually, in fairness. But if you let me twiddle with his knobs, that is a
Keep off his
technical
knobs.
thing.
Keep off his knobs. No.
Well, I better put all my stuff down there.
Right, okay.
Excuse me.
So you've dragged yourself from your sick bed.
I have,
and
yes.
you've infected half of the county with it.
It appears that way. Although, in fairness, I have tried to stay away from people because it is very contagious.
Yes.
So, I've stayed away, but the sun has come out, so I've just puddled over my plot. That is a technical phrase, Julia, and I've thought, aha, I know what's happening over here. You can't get rid of me that quickly, let me tell you. And so here I am, podcast away. Let's do it.
Excellent. Since you have been poorly, and I have to confess I did pass it on to you, so we've both been poorly for a couple of weeks now. How does that impact on the plot, Elaine?
Well, I've just come through off mine, and I can say, Julia, that everything looks very bedraggled. You do notice a big difference, actually, don't you, when you're not here all the time? And I've already started taking down my sweet peas, which I did before, but everything is just like the place that time forgot.
Yeah.
Everything has just stopped. Nothing has moved. Nothing is anywhere.
Well, I tell you what has moved. I tell you what has moved, because it has been, again, we've had the wet, we've had the sunshine. So what has moved is the weeds. We've got loads and loads of weeds, which, is a bit disheartening when you come back to it. And both you and I, neither of us book a holiday in the summer months because we know how quickly these things get going. So when you're poorly, it's like a real kick in the teeth, isn't it? Because you've not had a holiday, but you've been stuck at home and you can't get on the plot. So what's the first job that you're going to be doing?
What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and cut down the lavender. I'd started some time back, but I'm going to cut it down because the last of the dry weather is around, and in a moment it's going to be autumnal again. But obviously, while Gareth is sitting doing nothing, he could be doing that for me, couldn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Now we've seen that he's got a new talent.
I mean, he did confess that he was fetching everything out his greenhouse and putting it in the recycling bin. I don't know whether that was everything. Is that everything? Oh, nod, yes.
Yeah.
OK, well, I just want to point out my cucumber there, Elaine. Look at it.
Jeepers, can you believe... I'm just going to turn my chair round. And can you paint the picture, Julia, please?
Well, the cucumbers, I did start off with 4, and I had 3...
When you say cucumber plants? Cucumber plants,
yeah. So I started off with 4, and 3 of them were the smaller ones, the short ones that I like, and gradually, they have either developed mosaic virus, and I whipped them out straight away because I know how quickly that can take hold. And also one developed like a powdery mildew that I couldn't get on control of. And so what I did was I really, really thinned everything out, took all all the dead foliage out, and the one that was left was the Carmen, which is the massive long one which you love, and which a lot of people use to grow for cucumbers for exhibition. And I just cut that back, took a lot of foliage off it. And while we've been poorly, I think because it's planted in the ground, there's been enough moisture and it's got going, and it's absolutely doing really, really well. I mean, look how many cucumbers are on it.
I mean, from here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's at least 7, and I'm just turning round to look, but I can also see some smaller ones, and I can also see that you've got flowers still.
Yeah.
That's incredible at this time of year. I mean, we're into almost the end of October, and you've still got cucumbers growing.
Yeah.
And it's just unheard of, isn't it?
I know. I mean, what it shows is sometimes you've got to know when to take plants out, that they're dead and they're past it, or they're going to, infect something else. But sometimes if you've got a healthy growing tip, just leave it going and let it get going. It might take off, it might not, but in this case it's paid dividends.
Contact the Potty Plotters anytime on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at Potty Plotters, or email naughtycorner@pottyplotters.uk.
So, bulbs, Elaine.
Yes, well, I've still got loads that were left over from last year, and what I did was I took them out of the pots and I took them out of the allotment as well, dug them up, and all I did was brush off the main soil and then put them into trays, and they've been sitting in my shed since then, and I can tell you, Julia, that they look incredible. So this next week I will be just taking off the outer layer of the shell, and that's just simply because there's no use for it at all. So I'm not going to strip any of the bulbs, I'm just going to take the outer layer off, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start and layer them back up into all of my pots, but I'm not going to leave them outside. I am going to put them in the pots in the greenhouse, and that's because of the squirrels.
Ooh.
Up here last year I did some, I thought were going to be some beautiful displays of different tulips, different narcissus, different daffodils, and the squirrel flipping out desecrated the whole lot. And they don't just pull them out, they scoff them as well, and they leave them then half eaten. I wouldn't mind if they ate all of them, but he don't, he leaves half of them. So I'm going to protect them this year properly by putting them inside the greenhouse, and then I'm going to put some wire over the top so he can't get at them, and of course my trusted tights.
Yes,
my tights will come into their own. I will be hanging tights over the tops of these pots so that they can't get in. I'm fed up of squirrels.
That's a good plan, because I do remember earlier in the season you were coming round to my plot and you were quite distressed because you'd had all these lovely bulbs as presents and you'd made all these pots up and then they were just scattered. So even though you were able to retrieve some of them, you didn't know what you'd got left because they were just flung everywhere across your plot. So
made a real mess. But the main thing to remind people is that although we're putting out daffodils etc at the moment, don't do your tulips yet. Tulips don't need to go in until about November time, so their growing period is much shorter to begin with, but they do need the cold. So I'm going to leave all the tulips to one side until probably the beginning of November. That's when I'll do it, although the months at this time, Julia, it's all crackers, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's too warm. And I don't know if we're going to get too much whitefly. That's another thing, because we need all these cold nights to kill everything off.
Oh, don't speak too soon. I'm sure it'll happen. So the ones that you were drying earlier in the year, that was daffodils and tulips, was it? Were you drying anything else?
Yeah, I've done some alliums as well. They look ready to go, but I'll be putting those into the ground, into the raised beds. But I am rehashing my plot.
Oh, yeah?
So down the right-hand side, I'm going to be putting more raised beds, and I intend to put in more bulbs, and some of them will be, I think, definitely agapanthus and alliums.
Is that for cutting?
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
And then that keeps everybody happy, including the bees.
Top-notch advice, no Latin included. The Potty Plotters Plotcast.
Well, I've been out and I've picked pumpkins, Julia. Now, I know that they're dead easy to grow. Well, I think they're dead easy to grow, but I grew lots of little ones this year. And what I've decided to do is I've got my apple corer and the pumpkins themselves are no bigger than my hand. They're quite tiny. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little flower arrangement this year within the pumpkin itself. Now, the main thing to remember with that is don't put them straight onto your table, because the juice out of the pumpkin will stain your table or even your windowsill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise them by putting them onto things. So I've got some little containers that I'm going to just stand them on. You can't really see them, but it's a much better and safer way, I think, of keeping things on your tables and on your windowsills. But also what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some candles in them, and I'm also going to put some flowers round, because we've still got plenty of dahlias and I want to make something really lovely. Usually I just give everything away, but this year I've decided I'm going to do something different and unusual, and that's what I'm going to do. Also, I'm going to keep some until Christmas, and I'm going to spray them white or silver so that I can use them in Christmas displays.
I'm just a bit interested by you saying that you're going to core them and you're going to keep them inside. Won't they start to rot since you've done that?
I'm hoping not, no, because we're not rich like you. We can't have our heating on, it's freezing, which is why I think I've got COVID. I think it's actually pneumonia set in.
Oh, God, get the violins, Gareth, honestly.
No, that's what I'm going to do, but I think they'll look lovely.
Okay.
But I'm hoping not, because the inside of these are very different to the insides of the pumpkins that are bigger.
Yeah.
I'll show you what I mean. I'll take a photograph.
But the small ones, I know you're going to make arrangements out of them, but you can eat them, can't you? They are edible.
Absolutely.
And they're actually a nice size if you're on your own.
Yeah.
You can just scoop the middle out and stuff them with something.
Yeah.
Stuff it, madam.
Definitely.
And that'll make a nice meal, won't it?
Yeah.
So,
But honestly, I'm going to do something different with them this year. There's some clever folks out there on that Instagram and TikToky thingy what's it, aren't there?
Yeah.
And they all do different things. I don't know how they get the time, to be honest.
The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Elaine, let's talk Mucky.
Oh, all right then, yeah.
It's our favourite subject, isn't it,
It
Muck?
is, yes.
And actually, if we have had Bill the Muckman, while you've been away, he's been and dropped a load for us.
He's a good man, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, we do let's have T-shirts. We love Bill the Muckman.
Yeah.
Nobody else would know what we were going on about.
Do you remember when we bagged up that muck once and we tried to market it and we said it's full of... Shh. Yeah, that didn't sell, did it?
That's true, I remember that, yeah. Well, it's a phrase, Julia, that I keep on hearing about well-rotted muck. Now then, I remember we went to one place or other to do a talk and somebody said, what do you mean by well-rotted muck? So, Julia, what do you mean by it?
Well, what we mean by it is that you can't see the lumpy bits. So, you know, like when they're delivered, you sometimes get them like in little clumpy balls. So that's all kind of melted down. But when you uncover it, it should be quite crumbly, but then it should have worms in it. And I've got some lovely pictures, actually. We'll put them on them social media things of what it should look like. I mean, it's not right, is it, taking pictures of muck? But I have, because I get so excited when I see all those lovely worms, because that's really healthy, isn't it?
So when Bill delivers it, he delivers it in bags, and it is lumpy horse muck.
Yeah.
Fresh from said
fresh,
horse.
yeah.
What's the difficulty with putting that on the garden then?
Well, it depends when it's delivered. So you don't want to be putting it on when you've got new plants going in, because that will just burn them and kill them. But even if you were to put it directly on the top of your bed in the winter months, because it's fresh horse muck, it will absolutely stink. And also, if we do have a nice spell of weather, because of the horse's digestive system, it may actually start to germinate some of the weed seeds that the horses will naturally eat. So in rotting it down, we're kind of composting it in a way to stop the weed seeds growing. We're kind of killing them off naturally, and gradually the worms and everything do what they need to do and make it a very nice organic matter that we can put back on the soil.
So we don't put ours straight on the garden, do we?
No.
And we don't dig it in. We put it into the big bays at the bottom, which are the size of a house. Well, I was going to say a house. It's not a house. It'd be a very small house.
That'd be my house.
It's more of a car, isn't it?
Yeah, it's more of a car size. So we've got a big bay at the front that's about car size, and it's enclosed with black plastic, so I think it's damp-proof membrane that we used, and it's enclosed with that. And what we do is, once Bill delivers it, we empty all the bags into the bay and then cover it with more damp-proof membrane. Now, when we're covering it, of course, that's stopping the water kind of getting into it, making it all sloshy, but also it's going to gradually compost it down. And what happens is, depending on the time of year when we're doing it, in the summer months it composts down much quicker, because if you can imagine the sun on the plastic, it's obviously heating it up and composting things down much quicker. Oh, sorry, are we interrupting you, Elaine, then?
Yes, actually. There you go, I turned it off. You see, I wasn't going to be here, if you remember. Gareth was
but
me.
You couldn't help yourself, could you? No. So yeah, it composts down. So it depends on the time of year as to how quick it does compost down. But, I mean, you can always bypass, and if you've got somebody like Lulu who delivers the poo-poo from the horses, she delivers it and it's already well rotted down. So that is more expensive to buy, because obviously it's already rotted down. So, you know, she's not got as much of it, but it's good quality and you can just put that straight on. But we like to keep Bill in business, and also it's not a problem for us to rot it down, is it?
So what we need to do then is encourage the listeners to put aside an area in their garden or on their plot and just pile the muck up and then keep it covered.
Yeah.
And by keeping it covered, the worms come in, they do their own thing, and it's out of the way until we actually need it.
I'll tell you something we do notice when people take on a new plot. They always build things like the compost bins and the muck bays right at the back. That's a really daft thing to do, isn't it, usually? Because, I mean, as Bill comes round, he's just dropped it at the front of the plot. So why are you going to transport it all the way to the back? So a lot of people on our site have actually built the bays right at the entrance of their plot, because it means you're not going backwards and forwards and emptying it. So that's just something to think about if you're setting up a new allotment and you are going to have deliveries.
And actually, for me, describing it, Julia, it's a bit like fruitcake. You know, when you get all of your currants and your sultanas all together, they're all a bit lumpy, aren't they? But individualised. And then when you make your fruitcake, it's all gorgeous.
Yeah.
Tastes different, and it's sort of just all mashed up together. Bit like horse muck. I don't think I'm going to look at my Christmas cake again in the same way.
No. You know, we tell people to get in touch with Elaine via all them social media channels.
Yeah, that Gareth knows off by heart.
Obviously.
Yes.
People have, haven't they?
They have, yes. Have they?
Yes, they have. Yes, they have.
Yes.
And we've had a lovely one from a Dutch homesteader called, now, why have I chosen to do this one first? Jose Schmitz.
That's right.
Yes. And it says, what a lovely account you have. I'm a Dutch homesteader posting in Dutch and English, and I'm certainly going to enjoy following you. That's really nice, isn't it? Oh. We've got someone now in Australia, someone in Dutchland.
Yeah. Have we actually... We need that map, don't we, where we can pin them things on. Yes. Yeah. Gareth's nodding, so that's another job that he can be doing.
Yeah.
And also, we've had one from Stacey Leanne Robinson. Just wanted to say, I'm in awe of you both. I don't know why. You truly do make me chuckle with your podcast. Well, that's not a bad thing, is it?
That's the aim of it, isn't it? Just for a bit of fun, but hopefully someone will learn something from us. But the main thing is they have a laugh listening.
Definitely. And if you'd like to get in touch, or anybody wants to get in touch with us about sponsoring this podcast for the future, why not? Just give us a call or an email or a TikToky thingy, whatever it might be. Just do it, yeah. There used to be little things that we ate when we were kids.
Oh, yeah.
Contact the Potty Plotters anytime on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at Potty Plotters, or email naughtycorner@pottyplotters.uk.
Oh dear, blight.
Yes. Now then, in episode 32, Julia, we were planting our Christmas potatoes. Now, I've arrived off my sick bed. I don't know if we've mentioned that. And I've noticed that the potatoes with the buckets with the potatoes in have disappeared.
Yeah.
What's been happening?
There's been a tragedy. In fact, Christmas dinner's getting smaller.
It's official.
It might be a sandwich at this rate. So I came back off my sick bed, and the first thing I noticed was the potatoes have gone from looking very healthy to looking very poorly. Now, having examined them, they've got blight. They'd got blight quite badly.
And how did you know that?
Well, all of the foliage on the top, the stems had started to go very brown. A lot of the leaves had already disintegrated, but they were all brown and mottled brown. And so really, there was no going back from there. And although we would normally suggest, if it was a main crop and people have got blight, we'd normally suggest people cut the tops off and leave them underground for 2 weeks before digging up, so as not to release any spores or anything. The problem was, because we'd got them planted in the tubs and they'd got blight, and I could see, I think it'd obviously been going on for a while because I was away from the plot for a while. I think, there was concerns about them going back into the tubers. There was no going back from it. So I tipped the tubers out as well. And I was really disappointed because there was loads and loads of baby potatoes on. And when I say baby, about 10p pieces. So we were in for a good crop, but there was no going back from it. We'd only had them in the tub for about 6 weeks, so we weren't going to get anything harvested off it. So it's just one of those things, you win some, you lose some. I wanted to get rid of them quite quickly. I would have left them to obviously do a video with Gareth with them, but I didn't want it spreading any further on my plot or to my neighbour's plot. So I tipped them up and got rid of them. But it had already moved on to the aubergines, which I'd moved outside as well. So yeah.
Okay, so how do people know? You say that they've got the tops had gone brown.
Yeah.
They'd started to wilt. The leaves were disintegrating.
Yeah.
Is that a sign of just blight, or is it age?
No, that is just the way that they were looking. It was just blight. I mean, sometimes people send us pictures, and it's just an aging thing, and it's just a nutrient thing. But actually, this was definitely blight. And I am going to post a picture of it on our social media so people know what to look for. But it's that time of year, and unfortunately we've had ideal conditions for blight.
What are the ideal conditions?
Ideal conditions are warm, wet weather. And we've had plenty of wet this season. And, some people who are growing at home perhaps won't be as effective as if you're on an allotment site. But once it gets hold on an allotment site, it can literally, because it's an airborne disease, it can take hold of the whole site quite quickly. So, it's just one of them things, Elaine, but no potatoes on Christmas dinner.
Well, I would have said thanks very much to Luke for his contribution, but actually he's not. So instead we'll say thanks very much to Gareth for pretending to be me.
Yeah, I didn't do a very good job of it.
No, and I think I should stick to doing gardening and he should stick with his knobs. Is that official? I think it is now.
That's a good recommendation, yeah.
And next time, what are we going to be doing next time then?
Well, you want to talk about the bargains in the garden centres. And online as well. I know you've been that's a problem, isn't it? When you're poorly, you're on the internet all the time, scouring this, scouring that, looking at different things we can be buying, and also coming up with ideas. So I'm glad you're back.
Well, I know that I'm still banned of ideas, Julia, but my ideal is actually just sitting for an afternoon, going through all the bargains that are online at the moment for gardening stuff. Get in there.
The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters is an Amberland Media production.